As ESR starts its 5th season of GT3 racing, we open a new series of touring car racing. 3 manufacturers and 10 circuits from across Europe and the US. Here's a little bit of what to expect in this upcoming season here at Evolution Sim Racing TCR Season 1. Good evening, everybody. Welcome along to the opening round of the Evolution Sim Racing Touring Car Championship here at the Misano World Circuit, just off the eastern coast of mainland Italy from the Adriatic Sea. And as always, I'm delighted to join you as we start our 10-week Touring Car Championship here in what promises to be a highly competitive season. We have up to 50 cars included in our multi-class setup here at Evolution Sim Racing. And as the drivers currently put down their pace ahead of our closed qualifying session, we have a short while to wait until we get underway. So before that, a few formalities to get out of the way. Let's take a look at the season sponsors ahead of this championship. First up, Kame, the home and building automation experts, providing integrated high-tech solutions for private homes, public venues and urban spaces. The GP2 Group, a management and consultancy firm specializing in business acquisitions, property management and developments. AB Designs, providing bespoke sim racing liveries designed to your specification across all the leading sim racing titles, including iRacing and ACC. And Get Good, offering coaching and guidance via a new online self-paced learning package, which is accessible, in depth and effective. So if you're interested in improving your iRating, be sure to get in touch. All the links for GitGug and the rest are available in the ESR Discord server. So as we head to trackside, we find the drivers coming to the end of this practice session. They've been lapping now for about 35-40 minutes, most of them. And we see Votek Suridovic currently topping the timing sheets, nearly 2.5 tenths ahead of Mateus Pensela, the 112 machine. Format for this evening then, we have a closed qualifying session where the drivers will have 4 laps sequentially to set their times on a closed circuit that will last about 15 minutes, and the results of that session will set the grid for 3 of the sprint races upcoming. The qualifying order will define the grid for the opening sprint, and there's been a slight revision to the proceedings. Last week we had the top 15 and top 20 reversed in the next 2 races. However, we've changed that now, so qualifying will determine the order for the opening race, and the outcome of the first race will be reversed for the top 10, meaning that the man who finishes in P10 will start the second race on pole position, and same goes for the third race. The man who finishes the second in P15 will start the third race on pole position. So a mix-up of the order as we go through the evening to give some of the other guys a chance to start higher up the field and see what they can do in putting in a defense against, well, probably the fastest drivers in behind them. So we can see currently then most of the drivers split by class. The pro drivers denoted by the cyan blue and the AM drivers by the magenta purple. However, we can see that unfortunately Josh Ostek and Chaz Draycott down there in P21 and P28 slightly out of touch with their class. Everybody else coming along nicely. So, as the drivers commence the qualifying session, we will ride on board with a few of them as they head round, and we'll see who's going to exit the pit lane first. There'll be a small interim break here as they all prepare themselves. And we'll get underway. It's looking like it's a busy grid. I think we have over 30 cars with us tonight, which is a few more than we had last week. Not a full grid, unfortunately. However, no matter really. Still plenty of drivers here to put on a good show. Unfortunately, I found myself come down with a little something, so hopefully you can't hear the sniffles going on in the background, but we'll do our best. And I think, just as last week, we've got Paul Cowlishaw, the driver that was just in shot there, who was heading around first. So let's keep our eyes with Paul as he comes round. Part of the Suma GP2 Hyundai team. A small change in this team and a few others. We've had a few guys join of last week and a few changes to the teams as Paul gets a little bit of tyre warming done there in his Hyundai. We have the Suma Honda team and the Suma Hyundai team. Mark Proctor has joined those ranks along with Bostock, Aston, Newton, Cowlishaw and Proctor. I believe I got through them all there. Only 6 names. It shouldn't be that difficult. So, let's see how Vortex Filidovic gets on. He set the fastest time in practice. So he is the man to watch as he heads around his outlap. This season will be dry throughout. No wet weather included, unlike our Thursday GT3 series. And all the drivers using the same fixed setup. 14x for a drive-through, 20x for a disqualification. And you can pick those up by going off the circuit, losing control of the car, or having a collision with another driver. So an early lap 1 incident could really rank those up quite quickly. 18-degree air temp and a 3-kilometer wind. Stable conditions around, and Vortex is on his way already through the first sector. I drove myself around here last night for the first time. The 16 corners and the 2.6 mile circuit. Quite flowing, especially if you can attack the apexes, which you can. You actually spend quite a lot of time off the tarmac surface. You can take a lot of these corners with your outside tyre, as Vortex has just done there, the outside tyre over the red and white curb. Vortex does set the fastest Sector 1 time as he heads through the kinks to a tricky braking zone. Really got to get slowed down and keep it tight to the right hand side of the track as you open up the steering right about now. And then a little lift, no brake, as you head around the final sequence of corners that might have just been within track limits. I'm not quite sure. You can allow half a car to go over the end of the red and white curb. Vortex comes across the line, and it doesn't look like, yes, he has actually set a valid lap time. The 180 machine sets a time of a 1:44.581. Nearly a second clear of the nearest rival in that Honda, of Duncan Kirby. And Cowlishaw also only 100th behind Duncan himself. And there's the first AM driver coming in now, Owen Seward. Got Matthias Penciller heading now through the kink, and he's going to head through that tricky braking zone. And we've got James Howarth there down in the AM class, who I've just caught setting the fastest Sector 3 time, and he has beaten the other AM drivers. So he takes provisional pole in the AM class. Matthias Penciller, the 7K I-rating driver, new to the series. He crosses the line. However, doesn't make it onto the timing sheets. So an invalid lap there for Mateus. Raz Harper and Stephen Donnelly come across the line to take the top 5. I did try to fix the issue there with Andrew Fellows, the number 44 machine. Doesn't look like he has a class assigned. I did assign that yesterday, but things happen, so I'm not sure how that will read in the overall class standings. Fingers crossed he's still going to show up, but we'll have to just keep flicking between the overall standings and the class standings if he doesn't. Obviously resolve that before the second round next week. We've had 2 weeks worth of pre-season which have gone quite well. Actually, we've had plenty of drivers showing up, about 25 each week. And today it looks like we have just over 30, which is good, a small improvement. May as well continue to ride on with Mateus now, because he's about to finish what will be his second lap. Vortek, the man to beat at the moment, a massive gap separating the 2 drivers on the front row of the grid at the moment. Johan Furey, 6/10 off him. Ryan Otten's closing in on the front row of the grid. Jeremy Chioka sets his first lap time. And Jimmy Vyman knocks Johan off the front row. Is Mateus going to have something to say about that? He gets his foot down and crosses the line. Is this lap going to be valid? Yes, it is, and it's good enough for the front row of the grid. Just under half a second away from the pole man, Vortek. So he really is setting the pace at the moment. He holds the fastest Sector 3 time, does Vortek. Luke Lucchese now, who also has not set a lap time, only on his... In fact, this may be his first flying lap. The RDSA esports team. See, it's tucked in nicely. You can see he's kept it over to the far right, well, about as far right hand as he can really be, to still carry the speed through that corner, and he does keep it within track limits. You can really push on both of these apexes. Get your foot down across the line. He's kept it within track limits there again, I believe. And is Lucchese going to disrupt the front few rows of the grid? Surely. Yes, he does. He disrupts all but the pole man. And he now sets the second fastest lap time of the race. Slowly closing in on Vortek, but still no driver able to close in within 3/10 yet. James Howarth looks like he's just set the fastest 2 sectors. Let's ride on board with him as he sets what will be his 3rd and penultimate lap, with just under 7 minutes to go in this closed qualifying session. Here comes James now through the kinks. Arguably, I'm sure it'll be a favourite part of the track for a lot of these drivers. It's a very flowing circuit. If you hook it up nicely, as I said earlier, you can take so much curb on so many of the corners, as you can see there, fully off the tarmac. And the same can be said for most of the corners, particularly in the first sector. Turns 1, 2 and 3, basically the apex is off the track. And you've got to keep it nice and tidy. Howarth, was he going to extend that margin? I'm not sure he did, actually. And that is James over. A lot of the drivers now finishing off. Lucchese still going. He set his personal best Sector 3 on his last lap. And Pentela has also set his personal best lap time, which just about puts him behind Lucchese. They're slowly bringing that margin down. But it's not enough to disturb Vortec at the top of the timing sheets. The 180 machine, we have 4 minutes left before we get underway of the first race here in the first official session of the season, the one that counts. As we said last week, it was entertaining to watch, but it was all in all quite meaningless apart from practice and familiarity. This is where it matters. This is where the championship starts. A handful of drivers still on the track. Wayne and Paul will be finishing as well. And I believe Dennis Collar and Francois Brandet of the AM class will still be on the track, I think, when Lucchese is finished, so we can catch them coming across the line. But Luke Lucchese exits the final corner and starts steaming down toward the start-finish line. And is he going to disturb? I think, did he pull off there quite soon after the line? I'm not sure if that was an improvement. It doesn't look like it was. So, Vortec will start on pole position. But there are still a few AM drivers heading around the circuit. Let's see. Do we see... I'm not sure that we do, unfortunately. I'm not sure that we see Andrew. No, we don't. So, a bit of an issue with the class standings. Andrew not included there. I will, for the sake of it, risk bringing this sheet up on the screen one more time. It stayed off the screen, thankfully. And he is registered as an AM driver, fortunately. Not sure what I can do to refresh those, but we might just have to deal with that for this session. So then, with 2 minutes to go, there won't be much driving left. Wayne's still driving, although he has completed 4 laps, and he's setting another lap time. I'm not sure if the lap counter includes the outlap, which I don't think it does. So Wayne will probably be brought to a halt quite shortly. Maybe he's just getting a few extra laps under his belt. And let's see then. Is that going to change anything? Does not. Just getting a few extra laps under his belt. See, there's some very, very tight timings, actually. Hussein Sadakadesla only 1/1000th away from P20, which is actually Josh Ostick in the pro class. And Howarth, Saunders, Matthews and Aston take the 2 front rows of the grid for the AMs, while Svididovic, Lucchese, Pentilla and Furi take the 2 front rows of the grid for the pros. So then, before we get started, we will do a quick refresh of everything and make sure that we are prepared and set for the grid. just as the session comes to an end. And when it does, we'll be able to review the grid in full ahead of the opening round of the championship. Here it is then. So, Wojtek Sviridovich starts for Semper Racing on the front row of the grid, closely followed by Luke Lucchesi of RDSA Esports, only 2 tenths separating those two drivers. Matthias Pentilla and Johan Furi set off the second row of the grid, with Jimmy Vyman, Ryan Ottens, Jeremy Chioka, Duncan Kirby, Wayne Douglas and Paul Cowlishaw rounding off the top 10 for the Pro class. Raz Harper, Matt Hoyland and Stephen Donnelly, the next before we break for the pole of the AM class with James Howarth for DXT, Audi Motorsports, and then Mark Proctor back in the Pro class for Suma GP2 Hyundai. Daniel Saunders, Graham Matthew, Chaz Draycott, Robin Aston and Josh Ostig round off the top 20. Hussein Sadakadesla, Gareth Newton, Dave Collier, Rob Smith and Rob Mackay for DXT Honda Racing round off the top 25. Andrew Fellows, the AM driver, and Max Davinciani, Francois Brandet, Owen Seward, Danny Weir round off the top 30, with Oliver Lumsden, Russell Jakes and Dennis Collar toward the back of the grid. So we have drivers preparing then, before we have lights out here. See them all loading in ahead of the lights, which should come anytime soon. We have no warning. They just appear and the drivers will get the clutch at the ready to drop it to start the 10 weeks of championship racing. 3 manufacturers, Hyundai, Audi and Honda. You can see some of the drivers there in a stacked grid starting on a corner. I wouldn't like to be those guys stuck there down at the back. But the lights are on, the engines are going. The drivers prepare the clutch. Who's going to get a good start? It's going to be Wojtek on the front, followed by Lucchesi, and they are away. Looks like Wojtek has got a good start, and someone there at the back, it's a Sumaka on the right-hand side of the screen. Looks like he's got a good start down in P10, but Wojtek is clear as they head into turn 1. Lucchesi follows him on. And are these drivers going to get through there? There's an Audi of DXT. And the Orange Army, you can see there coming through for Suma GP2. I think that's everybody through in good time. Wojtek then, we catch up with the race leader as he sets off. Lucchesi's actually brought back some of that margin through the opening sector. And now the first straight of the race. Mark Proctor. Oh, there's a bit of door banging straight away there. That's Stephen Donnelly on the inside with Mark Proctor looking to hang it around the outside. There's some contact ahead. For sure, I think that's Jimmy Vyman. He's gone off the circuit there. Chaz Draycott down the order. James Howarth, the AM class pullman, all the way down at the back of the field. So something has happened with him. He's the only man who's had a significant crash. A few of the guys have dropped down the order. And Gareth Newton has now been overtaken by a few of the guys there. I think that's the DXT Motorsport Francois Brandet, who's looking up the inside as they head through the kinks. Russell Jakes, the driver's at the back. Not going to send it there. It's a wobble by Nevin Charney. And look at that, he's round. Is he going to collect the driver next to him? No. But you could see he had a little bit of a snap as he entered the kink, and he lost it just on the entry to that corner. Daniel Saunders in the middle. Oh, a bit of bump there. He's forced the car. Ooh, and that's really concertinaed those drivers into one another. That was Daniel Saunders, I believe, into the back of Ostic, perhaps, or Cowlishaw ahead. I'm unsure about that. We'll review that in a moment. Mark Proctor, looks like his race is over. He's jumped back to the pit lane. Let's take a look at the positions gained. Who has made up lots and who has not. Francois Brandet up from P28 to P18 in the opening stages there. James Howarth, as we said, the M-Class poleman, down 14 places in P28. And Jeremy Chioka, who started right toward the front, I believe that would be P5, down in P16. Daniel Saunders then leads the M-Class, and who's that? The Hyundai ahead. That's Paul Carloshaw, who's just rejoined the circuit. The two men at the front, Vortex Sviridovich and Luke Lucchesi, stay at the front with Johan Furi, the 104 machine, still at the front, and Jimmy Vyman under pressure from Matthias Pentila as they head side by side through the kink, and it's awfully shaky in these front wheel cars. On the brakes and keep it tight, as we said. You can see Ryan Otton's ahead, currently blocking off both of these drivers. And already the drivers cross into their third lap of the race. We'll review what happened at the race start. So far we've had Collar, McKee, Aston, Nevin Charney and Howarth, who have all succumbed to some incident at the start. Oh, that's a slow. Is that Lucchesi slow? I'm not sure. Yes, it is. Luke Lucchesi. Something's happened to him. And he is now behind Ryan Ottens. And this pack all over the back of each other as they exit the first sector for the third time. Who's going to get the run? Ryan Ottens has gained a few places there. He finds himself now in P3. And side by side they go there. Pentilla and Jimmy Vyman. We need to wait until it settles down ever so slightly. Andrew Fellows has been passed by Gareth Newton. And that's a big off track there by Francois, I believe that was. Perhaps Danny Weir, actually. Might have got a slowdown for that. That's the car, the Honda, on the inside there with the pink rims. He's let both of those cars back through. That's Fellows and Smith as they head through. And that's Rob Smith, who is going to sneak up the inside very wide there by Andrew, who's perhaps going to allow a few cars there, and that is a switch up the inside by Danny Weir. Bit of rear contact on the flatline Audi ahead of Andrew Fellows. A great place to try and make an overtake as we see Danny Weir, Graham Matthews and Andrew Fellows going side by side, and I think he's got the move done there. Has Graham Matthews up the inside. Lovely sound coming out of that Honda, the DXT Honda Racing team. It's Graham Matthew up one position. A little bit of a squirm of the rear there you could see from the Audi. Lucchesi has got past Ottens to retake third place in the Pro class. We're going to have to take a minute, otherwise it will never get done. Let's go back and see what happened to James Howarth earlier in the race. That'll be him on the inside, I think. No, there he is in the Monster, I think, because you just get tagged there. Let's watch that again. The blue and black Audi. Oh, it's a slight spin for the Audi ahead, and he's just collateral damage there. Can't slow down enough, and he has to wait for all the field to pass. We saw Max Nevinciani going off as they enter the third sector. Rob Mackay, let's see what happened to him. He's exiting the pit lane here. Surely he's not dropped it on pit exit, has he? It's a very, very long, frustrating pit lane. You have to sit with the pit limiter on for what is quite a long time. I'm not sure if we're ever going to see what happens to Rob. Let's not embarrass him if he does spin it there. Let's just leave that. Robin Aston for Suma GP2 Hyundai loses the rear on entry. Carried a little bit too much speed, and he just has to sit as the drivers come by. He rejoins off the circuit. Dave Collier, another incident in the pit lane. I'm not sure if that's something track related. I'm not entirely sure. Oliver Lumsden, let's see. He goes a little bit deep and gets sent there from the car up the inside. That's an unfortunate move. I'm not really sure. Is that Robin Aston or Graham Matthews? I'm not sure. One of those drivers nearby. I'll have to. That's the sort of cyan looking Audi. Raz Harper and Matt Hoyland have collided, and Raz has just rejoined the circuit, unfortunately, and Hoyland's spun him round. T-boned him a little bit there. He has to wait for him to get out of the way as the rest of the field comes steaming through. I'm not really sure Hoyland could do much about that. Arguably an unsafe rejoin there from Raz. And Mark Proctor, another pit lane cam. Right, well, this is going to haunt us a little bit tonight if we keep getting incidents in the pit lane. But nonetheless, let's go back live as we ride on board with Danny Weir. Let's actually go back and see how Lucchese got that move done on Ryan Otton's at the bottom of your picture. As they go into turn 1, Luke just steps it up the inside nicely. And Ryan can't hang it around the outside, and he gives that position up by the time they reach the second apex. Lucchese now only half a second behind Johan Fordy. And it was Graham Matthew we saw there, the Audi ahead, who spun around. I can't remember who it was. Lumsden perhaps, who just sent it a little bit late into this corner, I think it was, on Oliver Lumsden. And sent him spinning. Take a look how the drivers stack up. Bearing in mind we have Andrew Fellows in P6. So Graham Matthew would actually be down there in P7. But as it stands, Wojtek Svidovic, the practice man, the pole man, and now the race 1 race leads the pro class with Johan Furry and Luke Lucchese on the podium places with Ryan Ottens and Matthias Pentelen. That's a spin for Graham Matthews. Not quite a spin, he's caught it, but he's gone off the circuit and rejoined just about as safely as you can. Daniel Saunders, Hussein Sadakadezwa and Francois Brandet lead the podium for the AM class. I would love to leave it like that, but I don't want to leave Andrew out of the standings. Let's put it back to overall. And Graham Matthew and James Howarth, as we just saw in the back of your picture, going wheel to wheel. And Matthews has stuck another one up the inside. Howard's gone off the circuit and rejoined safely. That's the Hyundai of Owen Seward in behind, who I believe is currently enjoying the luxury of a brand new setup. So good for him. I hope that's comfortable. I believe last season in GT3 he strapped himself to a desk, whereas this season he's got himself the full rig. So I'm sure he's going to find improvements wholesale. Ryan Otten's at the front, putting Lucchese under pressure, but also under pressure from behind of Matthias Pentila in the Honda. Already over half race distance for the opening round here. Just under 9.5 minutes remaining. Fellows and Rob Smith going side by side. I think that's actually a bit of a connection issue. Limping in and out of circuit. Stephen Donnelly under pressure from behind from Paul Cowlishaw. An in-class battle in the pro class. Currently for P9 overall. But let's not rule out Matt Hoyland in behind, who will soon be putting Cowlishaw under pressure. It looks like Cowlishaw has actually got the run here. And let's see, Donnelly defends the inside. Cowlishaw switches back to the outside. Later on the brakes, he's got to leave enough room up the inside, which I think he's done. But Donnelly has got his foot down sooner on that inside line. However, Cowlishaw will have the inside to the next double right-hander. Let's see. These guys fare as they head through side by side. Through turns 9 and 10. Tramonto. And Hoyland will be thinking, yes, please, boys, you keep this battle up, cost each other some time, and let me get involved in this battle. He almost disappeared there behind the two drivers. Oh, and there's a spin for Donnelly. Is he going to style it out? Oh, he's still styling it out. That's the third time in 2 races Stephen Donnelly's had a moment like that, but has saved it I would have loved to have seen him save it in the first ask, but nonetheless, he's held it in the end. I'm really hoping we can try and catch that, but I'm not sure who's going to be the best angle for it. Let's go back and see if we can see it from the perspective of Cowlishaw. Let's risk it. We might not see it properly, but let's see. As he heads through the kink, he completely loses it, goes off the circuit, rejoins, and then he's able to keep it intact. Let's actually just do this one more time, because that was an impressive piece of driving from Donnelly. No, I've lost it. Let's not embarrass myself. I've lost it. The moment's gone, but it was another great piece of driving from Donnelly, who we saw make 2 great saves around Fuji last week. And although he's lost a few places, rather lose a few than be out for many. Danny Weir now putting Andrew Fellows under pressure. Honda on the Hyundai. Similar position as we saw Cowlishaw and Donnelly the lap prior, and he does send it up the inside. The room is afforded, but he's gone very, very deep indeed, and Fellows says, thank you very much, Danny. I'll take that track position back. And not only that, Rob Smith has also said, I'll get involved now. So Danny's gone from battling one car, one Audi, oh no, one Hyundai, sorry, to another, but he's managed to retake that position back before it got a little bit hairy. The battle that we disconnected from earlier still goes on. This time Cowlishaw being chased by Hoyland, and that is Raz Harper, who's got in front of Donnelly. So a few positions, 3 or 4 positions lost by Donnelly in the last few sectors, but in fact the last lap he lost it just in the 3rd sector on the lap prior. But as I said, better to lose 2 or 3 places than to be out of the race completely. Vortex Svilidovic 5.5, nearly 6 seconds clear of Johan Furry at the front. So his race is all but done. And then 2 seconds to Lucchesi from Furry. So again, the top 3 for the Pro class more or less settled. Daniel Saunders with a nice cushion with Traz Dracott and Jeremy Chioka, separating him from Hussein Sarakadezli, nearly 6 seconds separating those 2 AM drivers on the podium. So all Daniel has to do is keep it nice and tidy, and he will be in with a shout for an opening race win. And that is Hoyland up the inside of Cowlishaw. Room is afforded, and Hoyland is able to get his foot down nice and easily in that Audi, and he takes P9 quite easily. Good few positions gained from him. Oh, I was going to just give some screen time there to our GT3 commentator Chaz Dracott, and as I did, I haven't shone him in the best light. He just had a little bit of rear contact with the car in front, but that's okay. Everyone's come out pretty much the same as they went in, actually. So Chaz, the broadcaster for our GT3 Thursday series, you could argue the main event of ESR, and he's decided to join us as he and Jeremy head off the circuit on a little excursion for Spondex CDM Esports. Thought I'd give him a little bit of screen time as he joins us for the first time, making his ESR race debut in the Pro class. It won't be going quite as he hopes. Currently down there at the back of the Pro class, aside from Mark Proctor, who has just retired from the race. Made it all the way through the opening 16 minutes mark, but had to retire. Only the one retiree of the session thus far. For those interested, we have the links and the broadcasts over on Chaz Dracott Media, which you can find on YouTube. What do we have going on here? We have James Howarth, who's under pressure from a Suma GP2 Orange Machine of Robin Aston. Tight-knit packs up and down the field, and Cowlishaw is going to get taken by Raz Harper, as he does ever so slightly. Raz has the inside line. He takes a lot of curb, and is that going to allow Hoyland to get through? We've missed a couple of overtakes here, because all of a sudden Raz is past Cowlishaw. Let's go back and see how he did that, Raz. He was on the pit straight, and he's got a double overtake. He's obviously got the exit timed very well as he's come out the final corner. And is this going to be a double overtake around the outside at turn 1? Yes, it is. Oh, it's a single overtake. As Cowlishaw does have the move done, but went a little bit deep through turn 2. And he actually ends up behind both drivers again. Not the best angle to be watching this. I wish we'd had the blimp cam, but we can check that back. So he momentarily had them. Hoyland's gone a little bit wide. Is he going to get the run again? Yes, he is. Just like he got in the final corner. He's got the run on Hoyland there as they head down toward the second sector. And that's how he got the move done. Russell Jakes has had an incident. Looks like he's all on his own. Dropped it, has he? On entry. Yes, just ever so slightly. And he's just decided maybe he had damage from a prior incident. But he jumped to the pit lane and said, I've had enough. Just under 2 minutes to go then. The closest battle on the grid currently is between these drivers. Actually, I see James Howarth down there. Also battling in Dennis Collar with Robin Aston. Going wheel to wheel in this pack. Let's flash up the class standings. See where these guys battling down there for P9 and P10. More and more cars going off at turn 8. A difficult, nearly, well, a near hairpin. So, we have Svididovic, who is coming around. I'm not sure if this is the final lap. I think it will be. And he's extended that margin by nearly 8 seconds over Johan Furi and Ryan Ottens. And Lucchese's dropped down, actually. Lucchese massively down the order. And I think, has that just happened, or have we missed something? Let's quickly flash that up as Lucchese went off the circuit. Has he had a spin, or has he had a tap perhaps from Pentilla in behind? He has. Pentilla just give him a little nudge up the inside, and he's had to go so far wide, a full oval. Going to create a nice little, yeah, nice little oval there, crossing over his tyre marks. But Lucchese now down into P8, so he'll be very disappointed with that one. So Votek maybe about to come across the line. He exits the final corner for the first time of 3 races and takes the opening win here at the Misano circuit. That's Votek Svididovic on the top step of the podium for the opening round. Johan Furi 8 seconds behind him. He comes across the line to take P2 with Ryan Ottens, closely followed by Matthias Pentila and Wayne Douglas running off the top 5 for the M-Class. Luke Lucchese, after that spin we've just seen, comes across the line in P8 with with Duncan Kirby and Jimmy Vyman, P6 and P7. Here's Raz Harper now coming across the line with Matt Hoyland very close actually to Paul Cowlishaw, but Hoyland holds on to P10 with Cowlishaw in P11, Donnelly in P12. There's Ostick coming across the line, and we will soon have our AM-Class winner. There he is, Daniel Saunders, comes across the line to take his first win in the opening round of the TCR ESR Championship. He'll be very pleased. And a new entry to Flatline Racing. He takes P1. Hussein Sarakadesla will take P2, the second place on the podium, and Francois, sorry, no, not Francois Brandet. That will actually be Andrew Fellows, who takes a small incident there between teammates in the back. All fair. Andrew Fellows, who takes the AM-Class podium unfortunate for him, actually, with this issue with the standings, because he won't show up on the class display. So a good 20 minutes to open the standings, and as we can see then, it will be Matt Hoyland in P10 who takes pole position for the start of the second race. And unfortunately there, Paul Cowlishaw, haven't even thought about that, Paul Cowlishaw will miss out on pole position by 1/10 of a second, so he'll be very disappointed to allow his rival there, Hoyland, to have such a significant gap. So let's quickly review the results for the opening heat. First, Vortex Vidovic, Johan Furry and Ryan Ottens on the podium with Mateus Pentilla and Wayne Douglas in P4 and P5. Duncan Kirby, Jimmy Vyman, Luke Lucchese, Raz Harper, Matt Hoyland ran off the top 10 in the reverse grid for the second race with Cowlishaw, Donnelly, Ostick, Chioka, Chaz Draycott and Mark Proctor in the top 15 and 16. And for the arms, let's not forget about Ryan. So it's a false podium there for Brandet, unfortunately, but it's Daniel Soreness, Hussein Sarakadesla, and Andrew Fellows on in the podium positions. With Francois Brandet in P4, Danny Weir, Rob Smith, James Howarth, Dennis Collar, Robin Aston, Owen Seward in the top 10. With Gareth Newton, Max Devon Charney, Oliver Lumsden, Graham Matthew, Rob Mackay in the top 15, with Dave Collier and Russell Jakes down there at the back in P16 for the M's. We have the lights, and that was tighter than I've hoped it. When we were away, we had the lights, we're away. There's no time at all in between the opening round and the start of the second, and that is Matt Hoyland getting away well from Luke Lucchese. That's not the guy that you want behind you at the start of the race. However, Luke will have benefited obviously from that mistake earlier on. Looks like everyone's going to get through okay. We've got 3 wide just there for P3. A bit of door bashing there we can hear between those two Hyundais. Battling for P4 and P5, and someone's off. Someone's off there in the background. I think that's Vyman and Douglas who've collected one another. And there's a Suma GP2 car off there at the back on the left-hand side of your picture. And a Honda diving up the inside. Is that Johan Furry? Yes, it is. So Luke Lucchese will be fancying his chances to extend his lead. Vortec already up from P10 into P6. So Lucchese will have that in mind as he tries to dispatch Hoyland, which he's just done. They go wheel to wheel as they head down the back straight through the kinks. And you can see Lucchese entering the picture. Hoyland stuck on the outside line. Is he going to hang it, or is he going to look for the switchback? He's not really going to attack for that position. Rightly so, I believe. That's probably the best thing to do. Ostick has gone down the order there, plummeting down his round. But Lucchese leads, and Hoyland in P2. Vortex still in P6, so he has made some positions up off the start, but not enough to put a dent in Lucchese. Hussein Sarakadesla up 5 places. He finds himself in P12, second in class. Massive issue there for Raz Harper down in P30. He started on the front few rows of the grid, and now he's all the way down there. 28 positions lost on the opening lap. And we saw Vyman, and it was Wayne Douglas who've gone off the circuit as well. Russell Jakes out of the race already. Perhaps he didn't start. We'll have to see what happened to him. Let's see, we've got Graham Matthew and Oliver Lumsden going side by side. Matthew just steps up the inside and takes that position down there in P25. We've just seen Chaz Draycott making an overtake out of class on Hussein Sarakadesla for P12. And Hussein immediately actually under pressure from Francois Brandet, who finished P4 in the last round. That's Chaz up the inside of Huss. Cements that position, and Francois under pressure from his teammate behind. That's Danny Weir, as he looked to stick a wheel arch up the inside, but he's allowed Huss to hold on to that position. A little look there on Chaz from Huss. Would argue to keep want to keep where he is and allow Chaz to put the AM class leader of Daniel Saunders under a little bit of pressure. And Chaz has done exactly that. Room has been afforded. And Huss will be thinking, can I seize the opportunity now and put my class rival under pressure? So Chaz does what we needed him to do and gets back in contention with the rest of the pro drivers as they head around for the third time now. Votek up another position into P5 then. But we watch on as the leaders of the AM class battle away. It's now 1.5 seconds separating the pro class drivers between Lucchese and Hoyland. So we can afford to stay with these guys for a little bit longer as the two DXT Motorsport drivers look to put the Suma GP2 Honda car of Hussein Sarakadesla under a little bit of pressure. And that's exactly what Francois has done. They've made contact, I think. But he's kept it in, facing in the right direction. We want to see clean battles, and I think that's offset Huss ever so slightly. Has he got a slowdown maybe, or is he just offline? So Danny Weir might look now to try and hang it around the outside of Hussein. On the brakes, keeping it nice and tight. It's a very tricky corner. We've seen lots and lots of drivers going off there throughout the opening race. 5 minutes have passed us already in the opening lap. Let's see what's going on here. It's a misclick, but we ride on with Jimmy Vyman. Let's go back and see what happened at the start of the race. We can't go that far back, but we see Oliver Lumsden. He's had an issue sandwiched between those two cars, a little bit of a bump, and he's been unable to slow down. Significant damage to the front portion. He's turned around a car there of one of the Suma guys who's had to cross over the circuit. Unfortunate there for Oliver. Let's take a look at what happened to Mark. He got involved in that, actually. That's Mark Proctor of Suma GP2 Hyundai, the 187. And then Wayne Douglas. Okay, we've been done by the pit lane, the phantom pit lane incident once again. But that's okay. I've noticed we've lost the replay transition as well, so I'll be having words with the boss man after the race to see where that link's gone. Might have to get a new one ahead of next week. But that's okay, it doesn't look too bad. You can tell when we're in replay mode and when we aren't. Usually because we've got packs like this driving around the circuit. What's going on? Hussein and Danny still battling this massive pack here. 5 or 6 drivers. All actually within the AM class battling for the lead. Oh, and there's that Huss. That's Huss up the inside, quite late, quite risky, and these guys are going to go 3 wide. Jesus Christ, 3 wide. And oh, that's not Huss, but someone's off the circuit. He's rejoined, he's gone completely off the road. That's Danny Weir, who I believe has dropped down the order. You can see the DXT driver has just rejoined in the back of your picture. And that means that Daniel Saunders now has a clear gap of over 3 seconds over Hussein, but Hussein under pressure from Dennis Collar in behind, and that's a move going on just a little bit further down the pack between Francois Brandet and Jimmy Vyman. Out of class, Jimmy a little bit away from his fellow pro drivers. It was Chaz Draker up there in P11, so Jimmy will need to get a move on and try and get back with his lot. The same can be said actually for quite a few drivers. You see Raz down there in P20 and Josh Ostick in P27, so really trying to carve up the field and avoid trouble between the class drivers. We join the podium sitters at the moment. Hoyland has now dropped down into P5. And Votek there sticks it up the inside as we head through turn 8. But he's had a little bit of a wobble, I think, there actually. Because Duncan has managed to come out ahead, but on the outside line. So Votek Svilidovic should be able to step up the inside. Is he going to be able to get the switch back here, Duncan? Let's see. I think he has. And he's got the run. a bit of a wobble. I'm not quite sure what's going on there. A bit of a wobble, and you can see they're very, very close to one another. As they head through the kinks, Lucchese will be praying that Votek stays behind, which he does. Kirby for Steel River Sims does well, but he's afforded the inside. Once again, some great wheel-to-wheel battling going on here. As they head through the penultimate corner, taking all of that apex curb. Johan Farid has got past Cowlishaw. We'll check that in a moment. Very wide there. Could even be a slowdown that for Kirby. But Votek Svididovic now finds himself back in the podium places after starting down there in P10. Got himself up into P6 in the opening lap. So now Pentilla and Lucchese will be looking in their rear view, hoping that they can hold on. 10 minutes to go. Just over half race distance. And already Votek back up in a fighting chance to try and take the lead of this race. Oh, Jimmy Vyman's had an incident. He's off the circuit. That doesn't bode well for the pro driver who rejoins safely. Nice to see. And that allows a lot of the AM guys to get past him. And here's Graham Matthew, who's next, who thinks, I'll just stick one up the inside and get the job done. Vyman won't want to concede, but he's going to have to, really. After that incident, Hussein has just been passed by James Howarth, which is the battle for P2 in the AM class. Saunders very clear of these guys, nearly 5 seconds clear. So again, another class win almost wrapped up for Daniel. Wide there by the two DXT Motorsports drivers. Is that Rob Mackay ahead of Francois Brandet? The way around is Danny Weir behind Francois Brandet and Huss all over the back of James Howarth. Let's ride on board and see, has he got the speed, maybe ever so slightly, probably not going to be enough to mount a challenge going through the first sector, but knowing Huss, he might just send one anyway. He had a little bit of a look, which caused Howarth just to second guess the safety going into turn one. A little bit of a dummy, getting him to defend maybe slightly earlier than he might have thought necessary. Matt Hoyland has just been taken by Duncan Kirby in the battle for P4 in the pro class. Duncan's managed to get himself away from the other guys. Let's join these two then, Hoyland and Kirby in the battle for P4, as we alluded to. Duncan up the inside through the kinks. Is Hoyland going to be able to either hang around the outside or look for the switchback? He's not, and he's not going to send him into turn 14. No mandatory pit stops in these races either, with them being a short sprint, so everybody is absolute gung-ho from the start. From lights out to the checkered flag, we have these guys battling, different to our GT3 series, where pit strategy can come into question, but not here. And Kirby stays ahead of Hoyland for another lap. However, is this Pentilla under pressure from Votek? Now, not much of a margin, less than a second separating all three of these drivers to the battle for the race lead, and that's Votek up the inside. Has he seen him? Have left each other enough room? Yes, they have. It was a late send up the inside. But Mateus was wise to it. And Lucchese now really going to have to start putting in some good laps. But the gap has been closing and closing over the last few laps as we enter the final 7 minutes of this consolation race 2. the battle's going on up and down the grid, but I don't really want to cut away from the battle for the lead and the battle for the podium places. Any mistake from any one of these drivers could cost them dearly, and that could quite easily promote both Kirby and Hoyland onto the podium. If two of these guys were to come together, we know how strong Vortex Filidovic's pace has been throughout the session. He was leading the practice, leading the qualifying, and set some almighty laps during the first race to finish 8 seconds clear of the rest of the drivers. And now look at this, separated by just 1/2 of a second. And this could get very tasty as we cross the line, as the drivers commence lap 8 of this sprint race. And Vortex might be wise to put a move up the inside of one of these drivers very shortly. I'm going to ride on his nose and see how close he gets. It'll be nice and easy. Make sure you hit your apexes. Very close to contact, as Pentilla has to get just on the brakes for a brief moment there. Small defence there and a little bit of a wobble, and Lucchese's gone deep, Lucchese's gone wide. Very, very close. I've never seen three cars closer together. Is Pentilla going to take the lead of the race? Lucchese has the inside line. He's going to hold it. A little bit of contact. And is that allowed Vortex up the inside of both of them? Svilidovic has possibly just taken the lead of the race. Lucchese dips back into the slipstream. And just like that, we've gone from a 1-2-3 to a 3-1-2. As the 180 machine of Vortex Svilidovic takes the lead. But Lucchese is not going to settle for that as he looks to put his wheel arch up the inside as he heads through turns 12, 13 and 14, and Lucchese retakes the lead of the race. Vortex hanging it around the outside, but it's not going to be enough. That was insane as Vortex took the inside. Those two just got a little bit squirmy as he headed through the hairpin of turns 8. And again, wheel to wheel around the final corner. An insane battle. As we enter the final 4 minutes, there's only going to be a couple of laps to decide this. This could be a very, very close finish indeed for the race win in the pro class. I'm sorry for everybody else up and down the grid, but you can't really cut away from this kind of battle. When you battle like this, lap times don't really matter. It's just about getting the exit on the driver in front. But what you can't allow is for Vortex to get back into his rhythm. You've got to try and disrupt him, Luke. You've got to stick a dive up the inside at some point in the next few corners just to try and keep him in check. But already, look, Vortex increasing that margin. It could be half a second before you know it. 4/10 now. And that might well be it, you know. Once you've let the pace get in front, it's very, very difficult to stay with him. It would probably rely on a lunge or a mistake, but Pentilla still within a shout of retaking that P2 place. Bit of a bump on the rear there from Pentilla to Lucchese. They cut away momentarily because we have Matt Hoyland all over the back of Duncan Kirby. This battle continues for the top 5 in the pro class. Such a competitive grid. Hoyland obviously started on pole position, dropping down, and now finds himself battling for P4. All in all, quite a good result. I'm sure he'll find himself here. Be happy, especially if he can finish in the top 4, keeping an eye on those drivers at the front, still within a second of each other, the top 3. It's now cut to Hussein. Sorry, not Hussein, that's Dennis Collar and James Howarth toward the front of the AM class, as we saw Daniel Saunders quite comfortably bringing home that win. It looks he's 6 seconds clear of Howarth. But Collar and Hussein could have something to say about that. Lucchese is going wheel to wheel with Pentilla, so we cut back to that. What could be the white flag, I'm not too sure. I have to figure out the best way of understanding exactly when the white flag comes out. But if it is, then this could be the last lap. And what a battle it's been over these last 4 or 5 laps between these top 3 drivers. All the while, Vortec extends the margin, so I think they're going to have to settle for a P2 again. In the same corner, another little bump in the rear by Pentilla, just looking to offset Lucchese ever so slightly. Lucchese will be aware that I believe it was Pentilla who spun him around and dropped him down into P8 in the opening round, so Lucchese will be conscious of that. Hopefully, so will Pentilla, actually, to make sure that that doesn't happen again. This will definitely be the final lap of the race. Take a look at the class standings with Andrew Fellows in P8. It's currently Saunders, Howarth, Collar, the podium places in the AM class. And it would be Dave Collar down there in P9 with Andrew in P8. So Rob Smith, Francois, Danny and Huss coming up short of the podium. And as we've been following on, Hoyland has actually been able to get past Duncan, so he'll be very satisfied with that position. Taking P4 in the pro class, and Cowlishaw putting Donnelly under some pressure will jump back to the guys at the front. They're just coming through now, turns 14 and 15, so we'll jump back to them. Is Cowlishaw going to be able to make the move? Currently, Hussein will start on pole position, and Raz in behind him, similar to Cowlishaw last lap. In fact, I'm wrong, because Raz has just taken that position from Huss, so the battle for the pole position in the final race is switching hands. We'll catch that as they cross the line, but Vortec comes across the line to win once again. The second race goes to Vortec, Svilidovic, Lucchese and Pentilla, with what was a great battle for the remaining podium places. Here comes Matt Hoyland and Duncan Kirby for P4 and P5, with Johan Furry and Ryan Ottens coming across the line to finish in the top 7. Jeremy Chioka, Stephen Donnelly and Paul Cowlishaw in P10. Let's go down to, was it Collar and Harper, who were battling for P14 and P15. Huss is not going to start on pole. He's dropped down the order, and that will be pole position for Raz Harper. Daniel Saunders once again comes across the line to win in the AM class for the second time this evening. James Howarth, he'll be satisfied with that P2. And Dennis Collar, oh my god, that was a fast entry there. Nearly wiped someone out as he rejoined the circuit. Race is finished. Can't really argue with that, can you? And then we had Hussein in P4 and Francois in P5, with Rob Smith in P6. Thankfully, we're going to have a 5-minute warm-up so we can actually go through the grid properly, go through the results properly. And I can take a few minutes to get some water. This mild sickness that I've got isn't really feeling great, but you know, we plow on, of course. With just 20 minutes left after this interval. So let's quickly run over the order of the consolation race. Vortec Svilidovic wins for the second time for Semper Racing, the 180 Polish driver, with Luke Lucchese and Mateusz Pentilla rounding off the podium in the pro class. Matt Hoyland for DXT Audi Motorsports, the 1-2-3 machine, and Duncan Kirby for Steel River Sims, your top 5. Johan Furry, Ryan Ottens, Jeremy Chioka, Stephen Donnelly and Paul Cowlishaw, the top 10 in the pro class, with Chaz Draycott, the final Pro driver before we reach the AMs. Daniel Saunders for Flatline Racing wins once again, with James Howarth, Dana Collar, Hussein Sarika Desler, and Francois Brandet, the top 5 in the AM class. Rob Smith, Josh Ostick, and Andrew Fellows of the AM class, with Dave Collier rounding off the top 20. Jimmy Vyman, Robin Aston, Gareth Newton, Mark Proctor, and Oliver Lumsden, the top 25. Rob Mackay, Max Nevincharney, Wayne Douglas, Raz Harper, and Danny Weir for DXT Honda Racing, the 55 machine, round off the top 30, with Graham Matthews, Owen Seward, and Russell Jakes there, rounding off 31, 32, and 33, with Owen Seward and Russell Jakes the only 2 drivers not to finish the race. In fact, Owen may have finished the race, just down 2 laps, but Russell Jakes definitely did not finish the race. We're going to take a short break before we come back. We have 3 minutes before we get underway for the final feature race of tonight, another 20-minute sprint. So in the meantime, I'm going to go and take a break, and we'll be back very shortly. Okay then, so the warm-up is over, and we can take a look. In fact, we may not have time to take a look at the grid. Let's see if we do. We'll take a quick look. We're on the grid, so it's okay. We can we can see. So we have Hussein Sarkadesla and Dennis Collar, James Howarth and Daniel Saunders, the AM drivers, starting on the 2 front rows of the grid, with Chaz Draycott, the leading pro driver. Paul Cowlishaw, Stephen Donnelly, Jeremy Chioka, Ryan Ottenson and Johan Foddy start the top 10. So Chaz leads the pro drivers away. Duncan Kirby, Hoyland down there, Pentilla and Lucchese, with Vortex Vidovic down in P15 as you would expect. Let's keep an eye on him as we start this race. Just in time then, we have the lights. Hussein will get us underway when the lights go green. And for the final time this evening, the drivers will get us away. And it's a slow start there by the driver in P4. Didn't quite get off the line well enough. And Hussein already under pressure from Howarth, who looks to take the lead into turn 1. We got 4, maybe 5 wide back there. Are they all going to get through nice and clean? Let's keep our eyes peeled. Hussein battles Howarth for the lead of the race. We don't really want to miss that, so let's ride on board. Huss has held on to what he had at the start of the race. We've got Vortex Vidovic crucially plummeting down the order. He's down in P25 and dropping. Matt Hoyland also down. But Huss leads to Howarth and then Cowlishaw. The 2 Suma GP2 guys have got away well. And that's Chaz Draycott leading the pro class. He's going to want to get a few of these guys dispatched as soon as he can to put a margin in between himself and the next pro class drivers. Let's see the gainers and the losers. Vortex down 9 places. Disastrous start from him. The hat-trick of race wins may not be coming his way just yet, which opens the door for the likes of Cowlishaw and Draycott if they can hold on for the next 18.5 minutes. Could come home to find themselves winning the feature race here. But Huss has done well to fend off the early pressure from Howarth, who initially took the lead. Briefly, he's gone off the circuit, slightly rejoining. Who's that? That's Chaz, pulling off an absolute unbelievable skid, an unbelievable drift. Won't do his tyres any favours, but he's been able to keep it more or less pointing in the same direction. That was some stylish action there by Chaz. But he's dropped down a few places, which promotes Cowlishaw now into the lead of the pro class, and he will think, can I get myself past? Also, to give his teammate, not his direct teammate, but his sister team, a slight bit of breathing room, as if he can get past Howarth, then he can try and put up a bit of a defence against the AM driver to allow Huss to extend that margin. Dennis Collar, the next driver in behind, who's up the inside there, and he's spun around the flatline racing car who's been collected by Donnelly. That's Daniel Saunders, the double AM winner tonight. He and Vortex having a disastrous start in the feature race. Neither of those drivers are going to secure the hat-trick, which I guess is what we want, really. We don't want the same two drivers winning the 3 or the 6 races respectively, depending on how you look at it. 3 wide there, that's Donnelly, Collar and Foddy, I believe. Or Foddy, should I say. And Hoyland and Chaz Draycott going side by side here, as we head now into the straight section of the circuit. Review what went wrong in a moment for some of those guys at the front, particularly. Gonna look at, oh, and there's a spinner. Who's that off? That's Collar, I believe, plummeting down the order. Just like that. Big changes in the order. Right, let me get myself recovered here, because that was an interesting start. Kirby just got himself up the inside of Ryan Ottens and Lucchese, sniffing around the back of these 2 drivers. So let's go and take a look at what happened to Daniel Saunders. We saw that actually. He got spun around and double teamed there. And we saw his race come to an end. He has to sit there painfully. Is he going to choose to take to the grass? He has to sit there and let the entire field go past him. I want to see what happened to Vortek as well. I'm looking for him up and down the timing sheets, but so much went on in that opening lap. It's almost impossible to. I'm not going to spend much more time looking. Let's see what happened to Graham Matthew. He's had an incident as well. Slow car off the circuit. He's actually just dropped it himself, I think, there, Graham. Perhaps came through the kink a little bit too quick. And Danny Weir up the inside of one of the... Oh, a double overtake. Dear me. Did not get that car slowed down enough at all. Let's see from his onboard. That's not what I want to see. He sends it up the inside of the Suma car and just really cannot get it slowed down. He makes contact, spins around, and he'll have front contact there for sure. Dennis Collar, in the meanwhile, oh, there it is. We couldn't have gone on without the Phantom pit lane incident. But as we said before, that's okay. Hoyland is down the order, and that's a big incident. Oh my god, we've caught that just at the wrong time. And I think, is that Hoyland done? Yes, it is. Unfortunate there for Hoyland. Let's see if we can find what happened to him. There he is with the pink wheels. Is that Jeremy Chioka? Up his inside. Maybe this isn't the incident, actually. No. I don't think it is. Unless, does he get tagged here? Let's just keep watching this and see what happens to Hoyland. I'm not sure. He's still going around the circuit. Maybe this isn't where it happened. Danny Weir has had another incident. And guess what? It's a pit lane. It's a pit lane incident once again. Let's join on with the live feed. It's been a while since we've been with these guys. So, Kalashaw has been able to get past Huss in amongst all of that. And he then leads. However, he has Johan Furi right behind him for the battle for the pros, and I would guess that Johan probably has slightly more pace. Two Hyundais battling for the race lead, but Hussein Sarakadezda still holds on to that pole position that he took from the reverse 15 from the second race. And you'll be pleased to see that he's got 3 pro drivers separating him from James Howarth. In fact, now 4, as Lucchese gets past James Howarth, separating him from the next rival. So Huss, if he keeps it pretty for the next 12.5 minutes, he will secure an opening win. And look at that, it's very close indeed between Furi and Kalashaw. And Svidovic has actually done well to make back some positions. That pace paying dividends, as you can see. He's now back up into P12. We have a battle for the lead of the race though, as Johan Furi steps up the inside. Plenty of room given by Kalashaw. Is he going to get the drive on the switchback? No, he hasn't. Johan Furi steps up the 104 machine and takes the lead over the race ahead of the 134 Suma Hyundai. Ryan Ottens and Jimmy Feynman very close together. In behind James Howarth, they'll be thinking, come on James, let us through. You're out of the class. Obviously no driver has to let any driver through. We do encourage battles between the two classes, but within reason. You know, if it gets to the point where you're both holding each other up more than necessary, then it would probably serve you both well just to let one another through. But Vyman all over the back of Ryan Ottens, who is probably thinking that he's being held up ever so slightly by Howarth ahead. Ostick has gone off. Looks like he's had some contact on the rear of that Audi. Perhaps the driver there, is that Vyman? No, sorry, it's Chioka. So perhaps Chioka... Oh, and he's gone in the pits. I think that then is going to be Jeremy Chioka's night over, as he ends the race after 5 laps. Stephen Donnelly under pressure from Lucchese in the battle for position, battle for P5. in the Pro Class, and Donnelly hangs it up the inside and is holding on to that position for the time being. Tight battle here between Howarth, Ottens, Jimmy Vyman and Wojtek Sviridovich, all being somewhat held up by P2 in the AM class at the moment. All the drivers off the circuit, and that's going to be contact. Jimmy Vyman just steps up. Not what you'd want to see from Ottens. He'll be thinking, why have I let Vyman slip up the inside there? And Howarth does back out of it. However, he's stayed in front of Sviridovich. The fastest man of the evening looks to step to the outside. Is he going to hang it around the outside? Yes, he has. Both drivers afford the room, and he's going to get it nicely tucked in to the apex of turn 2. Cuts back across the Audi. And that battle which James has been involved in with the pro drivers is now over. He's got Traz Draycott behind him. But those three, Vyman, Ottens and Sviridovich, are now through and clear to try and reduce that 2-second margin to Donnelly ahead, who is P6 in class. Rob Mackay under pressure from Andrew Fellows down there toward the back of the AM standings. There's been an incident for Nevin Charney and Chioka, which we'll catch shortly. Duncan Kirby is actually under pressure from Matthias Pentilla in behind, which will go down for the final podium position. We're into the final 8 minutes here. This race absolutely flying over, and we've just seen Wojtek take Vyman, so he is a man on a mission after that early spin. We were unable to see what happened to him. And Furry now 1.5 seconds clear of Cowlishaw. He'll be looking to cement that position and bring home the race win. Furry finishing P2 in the first race, but he wasn't in the top 5 for the second, so if he can bring home a race win and a P2, that'll be a good night's work wrapped up. Draycott and Harper coming out of turn 8, going wheel to wheel, and that was Chaz off the circuit, but he's got the inside line over Raz as they head through turn 9. And is Raz going to be able to get the switch back as they head down toward turn 11? Let's see, that's right on board. Tricky when you get the overspeed here. You think, do I want to send it? Looks like he is going to send it. A little bit of uncertainty by both drivers there. Chaz didn't really leave an awful lot of room, but he stays ahead. The 110 machine. That was my racing number actually last season for the Spondex esports team. However, Raz has got the run. Chaz is going to have to defend Well, I was going to say he's going to have to defend the inside line, but he's actually defended the outside line, which is going to somewhat open the door for Raz as he looks to step up the inside. However, Chaz is going to hang it around the outside. Once again, these guys going wheel to wheel through the opening 3 or 4 corners. And that old Year 1 livery, remember that from... Bit of an Easter egg there for the ESR veterans back in the days of Saunders and Harper. Haven't seen that livery on track for the best part of 6 months, if not more. And Raz does get that move done on Chaz in the end. Hussein then still leading under pressure from Vyman, and behind, Huss will be wise not to put up too much of a defence here. A little bit of contact there. He needs to just let that position go. Although then he will obviously expose himself to James Howarth battling in class. However, if he's got the raw pace, then it wouldn't matter. What you don't want to do is get tangled up with the driver outside of your class and end up compromising your race. Huss has led from the start, and he's led him through. Oh, he's disappearing there ever so slightly, James. Sorry, Jimmy. But Huss now thinking, right, now got to consider what James is going to do in behind as those drivers have slowly ticked him away. He had 4 drivers separating him and James earlier in the race, but now it's down to 0. Matthias Pentler we see putting pressure on Cowlishaw for the second step on the podium in the feature race, and that was that Kirby who's just got past, I think? No, it was Svidovic actually who got past Stephen Donnelly. Let's see how that happened as they head through turn 1. Is it going to be a late send? It looks as though he's 2 or 3 car lengths behind. He's going to brake ever so late. Oh, and Stevens kind of just let him through there, which is understandable. He probably knows the pace that Svidovic has had this evening and thinks, well, he'll get by me eventually, so let's not cost myself any more time than necessary. All of a sudden, Harper all over the back of these guys and actually putting himself in between the 2 drivers. Just under 3 minutes to go. A quick shout out to those guys in the chat. I've been glancing, but I haven't really had a moment to say much. We've had Ashley and Yayan in the chat, and you've prompted me to just allude to that one, Yayan. Of course, the Saunders throwback. What a time. What a time that was. We've also got Moyland and Martin in the chat. The Steel River Sims team. And a quick message from Traz Greycott Media saying, let's do this, and that's exactly what he's doing at the moment. It hasn't been the evening that Chaz has really expected. I'm not really sure what he thought. He's been playing down his sim racing ability, perhaps to be worse off than his commentary ability, let's say. But nonetheless, he's put up some good battles. We've seen him hold on to that amazing drift through the outside of turn 13, which I'm sure he'll enjoy watching back if he sees the stream later on. But those guys in chat, and thanks to everyone who's turned out. We've had about 20 guys watching today, which is always nice, considering that we have 35 of those drivers. Oh, and there's contact there between Huss and Raz. No room afforded. Huss getting a little bit tense. He doesn't want to give up this lead, but he also has to be cautious. Contact like that could easily spin around and also cost him the run down toward turn 8, which is quite a long run. It's arguably the longest run between turn 16 and turn 1, turn 6 and turn 8, and turn 11 and turn 10 and 11. So you really don't want to offset your time. In fact, look at that. He's done exactly that just as we speak, and let's hope Huss doesn't get too angsty here. He's had this race in the palm of his hand, and on what could be the final lap, James Howarth is going to be all over the back of him. Johan Furi is now 4 seconds clear, but Cowlishaw and Pentel are battling for that second spot, and Lucchese and Kirby, actually, look at these guys. 4 drivers within a second of each other. while Johan Fourie extends his margin 4 seconds to the front, as Johan sets us away on what will be the white flag, I believe. So we have one more lap of racing. We'll catch up with Johan Fourie as he crosses the line in about 2 minutes' time. But we have the battle for P2 between these 4 drivers, and also the battle for the lead of the AM class. And Howarth has actually done it. Howarth has done it. I'm going to quickly try and find that move, because we don't want to miss that. The battle for the lead of the AM class. He's done it through the kinks in the braking zone of turn 13. He's absolutely sent one, and Huss has kind of been offset, and Chaz has also snuck up the inside. So now it's James that has the margin of 1 car in between those 2 the AM class drivers. So unfortunate for Huss, he led every lap of this race in the lead of the AMs, but now finds himself in P2. Still a good result. In fact, the timing sheet now says he's back in front. So what's happened there? Let's go back. Oh, Chaz offset James. Huss has got the run. He's forced James off the, not off the circuit, but he's forced him wide. Great battles all up and down the field. It's too much to handle, really. But I'm going to have to go back to the guys at the front, because Johan Fourie is coming through turn 14 now, and he is going to win. He had a P2 in the opening round earlier, but we close out the night's racing. We close out the opening round of the Evolution Sim Racing Touring Car Championship as Johan Fourie for JFR Racing comes across the line to win the feature race. And let's see what happens behind here. We've got Pentilla in P2 and Cowlishaw in P3. Something happened to Lucchese. We'll have to catch what happened to Lucchese after this race, and that's Duncan Kirby and Vortex Filidovich, the top 5. Ryan Ottens in P6, and here comes Hussein Sadakadesla, who, despite the adversity earlier on, does convert all those laps led and wins the feature race in what is his first win in TCR. Robin Aston, oh, there was an incident there, so that's it then. Lucchese and Howarth both off on the last lap, which promotes Robin Aston up into P2. An absolutely great result for the Suma GP2 guys, with Dave Collar rounding off the podium in P3, Francois Brandet in P4 for the AM drivers, and Owen Seward in P5. Now, let's try and see what happened there, because that is crazy for the final lap. So we have Luke Lucchese here. Let's see. A huge spin there. Absolutely huge spin for Lucchese. Is this going to catch anything there? He's in a straight line up the inside of Cowlishaw, and Cowlishaw's closed the door, and he's sent Lucchese careering into the barrier. That's twice now that Lucchese's results have been cost by another driver tonight. Very unfortunate for him. And let's see what happened to James Howarth. Another Suma GP2. Oh, and that's Lucchese going slowly. Oh my word. Let's ride on board with Howarth, because that is a scary sight as Lucchese rejoins, and that's a massive impact. That will 100% be going to the steward's room, that entire collation of incidents, because that has changed the outcome of both class results. Arguably for the worse, really. That's very unfortunate to see. So then, let's see the standings. All in all, what an eventful end that was. What a great feature race. Johan Fourie comes across the line with a 3.7 second gap over his nearest rival, Matthias Pentilla, who takes P2 for RD Sim Sports. Paul Cowlishaw rounds off the podium for the pro drivers with Duncan Kirby and Vortex Filidovich. A great night's racing for him. 2 race wins and a top 5 for the pole. Ryan Ottens, Jimmy Vyman and Raz Harper, Chaz Draycott and Stephen Donnelly. The top 10 with Wayne Douglas, Jeremy Chioka, Mark Proctor, Josh Ostig and Luke Lucchese, who was battling for the podium there at the end, all the way down. In fact, did he even finish the race there? He might have had to retire after that shunt with Howarth. And Matt Hoyland, who was also unable to finish the race after we caught him careering into the barrier early on. The AM standings, let me actually not forget about Andrew. So Andrew finished down there in P12. So let's not forget that as we review the standing. So after all of that, Hussein Sarakadesla does come across the line for Suma GP2 Honda in P1 with a 6.5 second gap. It wouldn't have been that if it wasn't for the incident with James. To his sister teammate of Robin Aston in the Suma GP2 Hyundai team, Dave Collier in P3, the number 16 machine with Francois Brandet, who's had another great night of racing, another top 5 for him. Owen Seward, Oliver Lumsden, Rob Mackay, Gareth Newton, Daniel Saunders and Rob Smith ran off the top 10 with the two flatline racing drivers finishing next to each other. Max Nevin Charney, and then I believe it will be Andrew Fellows in P12 with Danny Weir in P13. James Howarth down there after that incident at the end, and Dennis Collett, Graham Matthews, and once again Russell Jakes. Did he start the race? I'm becoming more and more convinced that he's actually stopped after the opening round down there in P16. Well, wow, and well. So, that was pretty crazy. Now, I'm going to do my best to interview a few of these drivers. And let's go to this screen. The first time I'm trying this, so bear with me as we set this up. Okay. So, I'm going to switch over to Discord. It'll be a little bit more efficient, I'm sure, next week, but it's a different ball game for me doing this for the first time. Let's see, we have Andrew Fellows and Traz Draycott waiting in the interview booth. So let's go ahead and bring one of those guys in. So we will soon be joined by Traz Draycott, who's going to join us in the comms booth. It's kind of alternate realities going on at the moment here. I feel like I'm in a flipped position. So Chaz, how was that, mate, on your debut for ESR? It looked as though it was going well, and you'll be pleased to know in the opening race or the second race, we caught that massive spin that you had. Not spin, sorry. Massive drift that you had through the third sector. So how was that overall for you tonight? Absolutely. And it did. It did.
I want to do it all again.
Awesome. I'm sorry, Chaz, that first sentence wasn't caught, so we'll start from now.
I had to make it look good. I had to pull the Hanny, get the hydro out, mate, make it look good. Jesus, I mean...
That's exactly what you did.
Yeah, it was good, though. It was really good. I was gutted that I binned it at the start of the final race there with a chance being at the front, but to be honest, I got scared to death when a car got spun in front of me. I slowed down and there was about 30 people went past me all at once. It was terrifying, but yeah, they're great cars, these TCR cars. I raced them, I think my last league race was in a TCR car, funnily enough, about 18 months ago, and they were awful. Oh, they were awful, absolutely awful, but now they're really alive. It's great to drive them. Really enjoyed that.
And so how do you feel then after seeing a few of these guys, obviously over the last season or so? You've got familiar with them from a broadcaster's perspective, but how is it going wheel to wheel with these guys on the track in these kind of cars as well, where door bashing is maybe a little bit more understandable as it would be in GT3s?
Oh, well, I'll tell you what, Hussein Sarakadesla is an absolute gentleman. There was many a time he told me to go past in that one, and I didn't, because I just wasn't fast enough. Francois Brandet could do one. He was absolutely filling my mirrors for ages, that boy, but it was great fun battling with some of these guys. After watching him for so long, like I say, or like you say, it was just, yeah, absolutely mega. Really, really enjoyed that. It's great to be back on the circuit again. I only built my rig again last week after moving house a few months ago, and I thought I'll put it through its paces. I used to have loads of issues with the wheel randomly disconnecting, and it's kept up this time, which is lovely to see.
Good. So you're satisfied with tonight, and how do you feel? Obviously, I didn't realise it was 18 months since you had a proper go at something. So do you have many expectations for this season, or are you just here for the fun?
I'm just here for the fun. I mean, there's guys like Wojciech Savidovic in this. I mean, I first joined iRacing in 2014 watching Wojciech Savidovic in the BSR TC, so it's amazing to share the circuit with him again. But I'm just here for the crack. It's just to get some driving done. You know, I pay for iRacing and sure make a bit of money off it broadcasting, but I'd rather pay for it and use it and drive it. And yeah, I'm just here for a good crack, and it's definitely been that tonight.
Absolutely. So before I move on, anyone you'd like to shout out?
You for the broadcasting. Solo broadcasting
Thank
is
you.
Not easy at all, mate, and you do a smashing job of it. The ESR boys, everybody involved for having me. It's great fun to do it. Spontex for the endorsement on the team, and everybody that's watching. I hope we've put on a hell of a good show. And the guys I raced with tonight, the guys I had battles with, were absolutely phenomenal. Really good respect. So yeah, I hope we put on a good show.
Awesome, Chaz. Well, you absolutely did, and we look forward to joining you over on your channel on Thursday night for what is the third round of our GT3 series. So until then, Chaz, enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll see you all then.
Thank you very much, mate. Have a good one. Cheers.
You too, mate. Cheers. So we'll get Francois in next and see how he found that final race. And here he is. It's Francois Brandet himself. Hello, mate. How was that for you tonight?
Hey, oh, what a night! What a night! Really, I was not expecting a lot from tonight, considering I've not practiced a lot. But great result, great racing from like most of the drivers on the field, and yeah, no, very great night.
So you brought home a podium in the first race. Were you expecting that, or were you pleasantly surprised?
Not really, especially since like I completely missed my quali laps, so I just assumed I would be racing in the back, which was honestly fine for me. But as this happened during the race, all of a sudden I managed to be like P4, P3, so I was like, all right, I'll take that.
Good.
And the rest was just about survival, really.
Yeah, I was going to say we saw a lot of action between the DXT guys, and I believe you spent a lot of time with your teammate Danny, so I think it was all safe between the two teammates, but yeah, some very, very close battling up and down the grid, and unfortunately some incidents at the end of that final race which has changed the positions somewhat. But for an opening round, I know you had the pre-season a little bit, but for the opening round, are you more than satisfied, or do you want more?
No, I'm obviously more than satisfied. If you take into account the amount of practice I've put for TCR, like generally speaking, but obviously as a very competitive person, I'll try to push myself more in the coming weeks. But if every week's like that, I'll be more than happy, to be honest.
Amazing, amazing. And any expectation for next week?
I won't be there next week, so expectations are
0
for the week after. Yeah, next week and the next weekend I'll be attending a big metal festival in France, so I'll be off for the next race, the next GT race and the next TCR races. So a bit of holidays before getting back to the grind and the practice.
Amazing, amazing. And so before we go, any shout outs you'd like to make to anybody?
Yeah, I'd like to obviously shout out my DXT pals. We have a lot of us driving tonight. But more specifically, I'd like to shout out Danny. He's not been able to drive before. He's only recently started to race again because he had VR headset issues. So he did the last GT race, and now he's with us. And he felt very, very amazing to fight with him on track tonight. So shout out to Danny.
Amazing stuff. Thank you for joining us, Francois, and enjoy your festival. We'll catch you in 2 rounds' time. Hopefully, we'll find you on the podium a few more times throughout the season.
Yeah, hopefully. Thank you for having me.
Awesome, man. Thank you. And like that, we'll now bring in his teammate of Danny Weir, if we can find him in the standings. There he is. Good evening, Danny. How's it going, mate? You okay?
Not bad, Joe. How are you?
Doing good, mate. It's very, very warm in this room. But
Tell me about it.
We're nearly through, and I can't imagine how you guys feel after what has been some very intense rounds there. 3 races, very intense. And you had a very strong P1. I believe it was P4 for you. So you're satisfied with that, I'm sure? I'm not sure how close you were to finishing on the podium. Perhaps that was maybe a bit of a disappointment. But nonetheless, P4, very strong.
No, I'm taking P4. It's probably my best finish in ESR in a while. But yeah, the heat was ridiculous. Like I think I'll take my top because I'm sweating. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, a lot of close battles. I didn't realize how close these cars are when on track. It's a lot of fun, and everyone's really respectful. But it's a brilliant track, brilliant cars.
Yeah, the track did seem to help, the flowing circuit of it all. And I was just saying to Francois, we caught you guys very close several times. I think, from my memory, obviously a lot happened, but you spent quite a lot of time nearby each other this evening, actually. So thankfully,
Yeah, we did.
you kept it away from one another.
Well, as you know, like we're in a party together, being like DXT teammates, or not teammates, but DXT. But
Yeah.
we're driving along, and obviously, although we are DXT, there's no like one stays behind the other. We battle each other, so it's a lot of fun to fight Francois. I've not really had a chance to fight him before, and yeah, he gives as good as he gets. Like, he's a brilliant driver, so well done to him. He did really well, deserved it. And Andrew as well was another fantastic battle. We had the three of us. And even Rob Smith as well, with great battles. But yeah, everyone's really respectful. It's brilliant.
And was that Andrew Fellows you mentioned there?
Andrew Fellows, really good battle with him as well.
Well, I'm going to speak to him next and finally, so it's interesting to know that he spent some time around you guys, because that was his debut tonight. So, good for you, mate. And how are you finding these cars? I know a lot of people have most experience in GT3. A completely different kettle of fish, but are you enjoying them?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I've had headset issues for the last 2 weeks, and I've not been able to race anything for like 2 weeks. And then yesterday was the first time into the car at all, or on the track, and I was really worried that I was going to be like a massive learning curve. After a few laps, and you realize how these cars drive, when they're front wheel drive, it just easily pick it up, and you understand the car. You can feel when it's going to give a bit more, and how much you can push. But yeah, these cars, they're brilliant. They're brilliant to drive. They're a lot of fun. It's complete different to what I was expecting from a touring car. I wasn't expecting this, and they were really fun, and a lot of feedback through the steering wheel.
Yeah, it looked like great fun out there for a lot of drivers. And so finally then, before I move on to Andrew, anyone you'd like to shout out? Surely your TXT teammates, who you seem aplenty on this grid, actually. There's almost too many of you.
Yeah, we've got two teams. We've got the DXT Honda teams. That's myself and Rob, and then the DXT Audi team with Matt, James, who I think had a coming together today, and Francois. But yeah, big shout out to them. They're massive supporting us. Although I own DXT, they very help. I'm not a very good driver, and they definitely push me along. So big thank you to them as always. Much love.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks for joining me, and well, good luck for the rest of the season. I'm sure I'll speak to you again. You seem to be battling toward the front of your class, so hopefully we see a few more podiums from you guys.
Jesus, one step at a time. But yeah, great. I can't wait to watch the stream back. But yeah, I can't wait to listen to your commentary.
Plenty happened, so plenty to sink your teeth into later on. Thanks for joining me, mate. I'll catch you in a few days, I'm sure.
Yeah, thanks, Joe.
Awesome, mate. Cheers. Thank you. So finally then, we'll bring in the debutant, Andrew, and we'll see how he got on in his ESR debut. Andrew, are you with us?
Yes, hi.
Hello, mate. How's it going? So firstly, welcome to ESR and welcome to the Touring Car Championship. How was that for you then, generally speaking, on your opening race?
It was good. I didn't know what to expect. This is my first ever league race. I've done obviously some officials and things and some 24 special events, but I really enjoyed it. That first race was amazing. Managed to scrape all the way up to P3 in the end, which was good. And my second race, not so good. Started P3, was like last by the first corner because I had the worst start in history. And then race 3, some really good battles. I think it was with Rob and Danny as well. Some really good battles. And unfortunately, a couple of incidents, and I ended up with a drive-through on the penultimate lap. So didn't 14th, but it is what it is. It was some really good close racing, 3 wide several times. Quite enjoyed it, actually.
And so how do you find the difference then between your endurances and your officials compared to league racing? It's obviously, you'll come to learn the drivers, you'll come to know who you're going to be battling on week in, week out, and who to give some extra room to, who you can trust and whatnot. So have you built up some sort of a base? You obviously don't have to share names, but have you got a bit of a feel for league racing after tonight?
Yeah, I think everyone was pretty much respectful. I had some really good battles with several drivers. Me and Rob McKee was a really good battle. And I think it was really respectful. 3 wide in some cases. going through the double fast right-hander towards the end of the lap. So yeah, I think week in, week out, it'll be good to learn the people, and obviously you're a bit more respectful, I think, because you are racing with the same people every time.
Yeah, I would agree, and I think that's a very good way to think about it. So, what about these cars, Andrew? Do you have much experience in TCR?
I've done a few races. I've done a couple of races last season, and then I did the 24 hour of the Nordschleife in the Elantra, which is quite good. And then this season I've just done a couple of the officials, but picked up a third and a fourth, I think. So not doing too bad. But I quite enjoy them. Front wheel drive, a little bit easier to save than the GT3s when you get it wrong.
That's absolutely right. And to be honest, I couldn't think of much worse than doing 24 hours around the Nordschleife in one of these machines. But nonetheless, I'm sure it's a hell of a lot of fun. So your expectations for the rest of the season, you know, I guess you just want to cement yourself, get used to the drivers around you, and then maybe perhaps in the next few seasons to come, you can start thinking about where you're going to get your positions. I guess that's your outlook for the rest of the season.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I can't make every round due to work commitments or work shifts. So unfortunately, I'm going to miss 3 or 4 other races. But yeah, just to try and see how high I can get up, and just generally have a good drive and get some good races, and keep it clean.
Amazing, mate. Well, that's very nice of you to come and join us. I'm sure we'll hear from you in the future rounds. Is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to? Anybody that might have been watching on?
I don't actually know if there's anyone watching.
That's okay. That's all good, mate. I'll just ask everyone as we've gone through.
Yeah, just a shout out to yourself for commentating through that. It's quite a long on your own to commentate for that, so
it certainly is. It certainly is. Well, awesome, Andrew. Thank you so much for joining, and as I say, welcome along. So I hope to see you slowly making your way up the grid, perhaps as you get used to this league racing setting, and you never know, you could find yourself winning a couple of races as the season goes on.
Fingers crossed. Thank you very much.
Awesome, man. Thank you.
Thanks, mate.
Right. Well, that's going to be us wrapping up. Hopefully, we are in a position now. No one else is joining, so we spoke to a few of the guys there. I was hoping to speak to Luke, who maybe has gone straight off because he's been taken out on the final lap of 2 of those races. Nonetheless, he did have a good finish. And it would have been good to hear from Svidovic after he had a strong opening couple of rounds. But that will be us finished for yet another week. So next week, the drivers head to the Brands Hatch circuit in England, which was the scene of our social race, which sort of kickstarted all of this commentary and the league as itself. So be interesting to be back there and see how the drivers handle that tight, twisty circuit where the barriers are aplenty and the grass runoffs can end a race as quick as it started. And if we have anywhere near the amount of cars that we had tonight, it could be absolute chaos as the guys try and head through that downhill turn 1. But until then, we will rejoin with Chaz, as we said earlier, on Thursday over on Chaz Breakout Media for the round here at Misano for the GT3 series. And until then, enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll catch you all next week when we move back to England. See you later.